A lot of people mistake their patterns to be their identity. People think this is who I am, this is who I've always been. But in reality, a lot of the reactions that people so strongly identify with are just conditioned adaptations repeated so many times that they start to feel permanent. This is one of the most important distinctions in the entire Neurologic Recode framework, which is that a pattern is not an identity. A trauma response is not a personality. A conditioned reaction is not your essence. It is a learned configuration. And anything that is learned or was learned can be observed, interrupted, and reconditioned. The reason why this is so difficult to do is because the human mind does not store memory perfectly like a recording device does. Memory is reconstructive. What that means is that each time you recall an emotional event, you alter portions of that event with new information, new metadata, layering it in with emotional bias depending on the state you're in, thus altering the very blueprint of that memory. This is why two people can recall the exact same event very differently. Humans build their entire identities based on emotionally distorted interpretations of the past. Over time, people start to identify with their traumas, their failures, their limitations, their setbacks, their embarrassments, their losses, not because these things are their identity, but because these things feel familiar. And over time, familiarity starts to feel like truth. This creates what I call identity conditioning, where the nervous system organizes itself around recurring emotional patterns and repeated internal narratives. So much so that instead of identifying and breaking the pattern, people defend it like it is who they are. Instead of saying, I experience fear, they say, I am an anxious person. Instead of saying, I failed once or twice, they say, I am a failure, I am unworthy. They fuse their wounds with their identity. Once wounds fuse with identity, growth starts to feel psychologically threatening. And this is where suffering becomes cyclical. And so the goal of pattern recognition and interruption is not emotional suppression. It's conscious observation. It is creating space between the awareness and the conditioning. And it is in that space choice emerges. This is the foundation of self-command because you cannot redirect a system that you cannot even see. And so in module 2 of the Neurologic Recode, we identify wounds, labels, identity attachments, internal narratives, recurring emotional loops, not to expose yourself, but to simply bring to your awareness what patterns have repeated themselves for far too long that are no longer serving you. And this is the beginning of self-command and full ownership of who you are, where you become the author of your own identity and create conscious changes that bring you in full executive control of yourself.